Thank you, Cassandra. And now we get to hear from the legislators, a few, who made this possible. Before we turn it over to the legislative delegation here in Vermont, I do want to acknowledge the legislative delegation from Vermont, who is working so hard for us in Washington, D.C. for single-payer health care in Vermont. The best congressional delegation in the country, Senator Patrick Leahy, Senator Bernie Sanders, Congressman Peter Welch. Without them and their team, thanks Dave Reynolds for being here from the Sanders office, I got to tell you, we wouldn't be where we are today. I also want to thank President Barack Obama for his willingness to move the federal date of preclusion from single payer from 2017 to 2014. The president gets it. I also want to thank him for his courage in health care, allowing the federal bill to be a bridge to this system. And this is what the president and Bernie and Pat and Peter understand. The states must and should be the laboratories for change and for reform. As long as we're not reducing standards to Americans who so desperately need health insurance. I am grateful to the president and to our legislative delegation for their extraordinary support in this effort here in the Green Mountain State. I now give you House Speaker Shap Smith.
Thank you very much. This is a great day, and it's wonderful to be outside on the steps of the state capitol. I would first like to thank the hardworking members of the House and the House Healthcare Committee and the Senate for making this all possible. It's without their work, we wouldn't be here today, and it was difficult work, time-consuming, and required a great deal of political and policy skill. And I think that Senator Claire Ayer and Chair of the House Healthcare Committee, Mark Larson, deserve a huge round of applause from all of you. It's amazing that we're here and that we could be debating the fact that there could be something wrong passing a law that creates coverage, healthcare coverage, for all Vermonters. It should be at the very core of what we believe in as citizens. It should be not debatable. It should be a fundamental principle for all Vermonters, but for all Americans. All of the other industrialized countries get it, and thank God we here in Vermont get it too. I would say to those who say this change may bring uncertainty, well, what is it like to face the uncertainty of not having health care coverage at all, or having health care coverage that doesn't really provide you with health care in the first place? That's uncertainty.
Yeah!
And uncertainty is figuring out, if you're an employer, how you're going to face another 20 to 30% increase in your health care premiums. How are you going to make sure that you continue to provide health care coverage for your employees? That's uncertainty. I can tell you the uncertainty that that brings, having sat in many partners meetings at the law firm that I work in, figuring out how we're going to continue to pay for health care for our employees. That's uncertainty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the uncertainty that exists with the payment system that we have now. I don't know if any of you have been looking at any of your healthcare bills recently or your insurance explanation of benefits, but I have 17 years of education and I can't make heads or tail of it. That's uncertainty. This bill is a common sense start to making sure that all Vermonters have coverage, that everybody's got skin in the game, and that we have common sense payment reform that pays per performance, not for number of visits. That's what this bill is about. I want to thank everybody here who has worked so hard to get this bill passed, and I want to thank you now for the work that we're going to have to do in the coming years. This is the beginning. This is not the end. We have hard work to do. There are definitely people who want to see this fail. We cannot let that happen. We need to work together to show the way for the entire country. We can do it. Vermont's done it in the past. We'll do it again. Thank you very much.
Hey, we're pretty lucky to have the best speaker and the best president pro tem in the country. That's not bad, huh? I give you my friend John Campbell.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Speaker. You know, I'll tell you, look at this day out. I mean, we've been, fighting 2 or 3 weeks now, solid rain. And then when we're here on the steps of the Capitol, the greatest state capitol in the country, we're graced with this wonderful weather, and hopefully we'll hold off for a few more moments. Let me just say this: my great-great-grandparents came to this country in the 1800s, mid-1800s, and unfortunately, through the years, they decided to leave, and I found myself growing up as a child in Florida. And fortunately, I made my way back here with my family, and I raised my children here. And never in my wildest dreams would I ever have thought that I would be involved in 2 of the greatest social movements of my life, and I think the lives of most people here. The first came when we took courageous stands to say to our brothers and sisters who are gay and lesbians that they are allowed to marry those who they love and care for. Time I thought that was the proudest moment of my professional career here in the Statehouse. But I can tell you today marks a second part of that. And now to understand, to be here and to say to you folks that health care is a right that every American, every Vermonter should and shall have, that is important and that is spectacular. It's easy for us to stand up here and say what a wonderful project this is and that we're going to keep on moving. But I can tell you this, we are not going to be able to do it without your help. The next few years are going to be very difficult. As the speaker mentioned, there are many people out there that would love to see us fail. Yeah. We have to look at them and figure out why. Many of them may have insurance companies or whatever. They're afraid that they're going to lose some business. For that, I'm sorry, but I have to look at people who are walking around without health care coverage, who aren't able to get in to see a doctor, who are suffering from cancer and other maladies that they will not be able to get treatment for, just because we have a broken health care system. We can't sit by, folks. We all have to get involved. And we all have to be ready to fight the fight that surely will be coming over the next 2 or 3 years. So I ask you today to make sure you're with us back in next January when we start the second part of this fight. And we will win. We'll win because it's right.
Thank you, John. I'm now going to give you the 2 chairs of the committees that got the hard work done. While they were doing that hard work, they had some assistance from my teams that I'm extraordinarily proud of. Anya, Wallach, Rader. I know who's watching. I'll get the wallet first. Robin Lunge. Kimball.
Yeah!
Harry Chen, couldn't have done it without you. Doug Racine, who's working, thank you. Okay, we let him out of the office for a minute. Come on over. Bill Lofi, Alex McLean, Sue Allen, and the entire healthcare team on the 5th floor who's been working so hard. Jeb Spalding, I shouldn't have started. Thank you. Chairman Mark Larson, we turn it over to you. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you. I'll make sure that we keep it briefer than the interrogation in the House. I'm really pleased to be a part of today. I'm pleased to be a part of this bill, which will then become law. I never doubted that today wouldn't come. I think the question was just when. The arguments for why our current system isn't working have been around for a long time. People have articulated them for many, many years. We just happen to be in the right place at the right time. I think the arguments about why a reform system can be better have been around for a long time, and people have told those stories. I work hard. I have a 7-year-old daughter. I work hard to try to explain to her why I'm not home very much for a few months. And I told her, so I'm working on this bill, and basically what it's about is to make sure that when people need to go to the doctor that they can. She's like, well, of course they should. I'm like, yeah, I know. And yet our current system allows the craziness of stories like this. I talked to somebody recently who was telling me that their neighbor had fallen down and she had hurt her leg and they had called the ambulance. And just after doing that, she started worrying, have I done something wrong for her? What will happen if she doesn't have insurance? Will I actually have hurt her by calling to get somebody to come take care of her injury? That's a crazy-making story, but it happens all the time. It happens for employers who worry about, if I can't afford to have coverage, what's going to happen to my employees who are sick or who have family members who are sick. In a situation where it's as clear as when somebody needs a doctor, they should have one, it is no longer acceptable that we would accept stories where people are worried about getting the care that they need, and that's the amazing thing I think that we've accomplished in passing this bill. I just want to say a couple of thank yous. The arguments have been around for a long time, but they have only been there because there have been people out in Vermont who've been willing to tell their stories. Certainly the advocates, many of whom sat in our committee rooms for long, long hours, but people across our state who have been willing to talk about the downside of what we do right now and have been willing to make the case for why things could be different in the future. They deserve a vast amount of credit for us being able to be here today. And while many of them are probably working, they can't spend their time here, I think they deserve a huge round of applause. I know that I have colleagues, legislators who have been in this building for a long time who have hoped to be a part of this day as well, and I think that one of the reasons that I have the opportunity to be here today and that we have the opportunity to have this bill signed today is that we've actually had leaders who have been willing to finally listen to the arguments about what's wrong with our system, to listen to the opportunities about what doing something different could present for our state, and be willing to do something about it. So Governor Peter Shumlin, Speaker Smith, President Pro Tem Campbell, you guys have given us the opportunity to do the work that we did in committee, and I'm very, very grateful. Our state will be better off for it. We will be healthier. We will be happier. We will be more secure. And I think we have a lot of work left to go, but thank you for giving us the chance to make things better in Vermont.